All right, Azzy, we're live.
Cool beans, cool beans. Okay, hope everyone's good. I'm just gonna wait for you guys to roll and give you a few quick minutes. Hope you had a wonderful weekend, and we'll get the show on the road. A lot going on in the market as usual. But let me see if I can see you guys on Facebook. And wish you a great morning. Let me see if it's left. Okay. Okay, might take a few moments, but hope you guys are cool and getting prepared for the week. Hope the weather's not too bad at your end as well. Thank goodness at our end they've started saying it's going to warm up a little bit. It's just a smidgen. So guys, don't get too excited. I know we saw since last Friday a whole page of green. Everyone has been waiting to see what will happen, whether it'll be sustained, whether this was just a flash in the pan. You know what will, especially during the weekend with cryptos, it tends to go the opposite way. So last time I checked, it was, I think, about 3,667, 68 per Bitcoin, and it's still around that $64 billion mark. Not much movement. But what did happen with Ethereum, however, it regained, some people, it depends who you speak to, some of them would say if you're Ether holder, it gained its rightful place. About time to Constantinople is not due yet. That's the end of this month. So far, no delays. All good. And Ripple holders are just, they're not too upset yet. I haven't seen any crazy comments yet, but the difference is so small. I mean, there's still, both of them are vying for that second position, over $12 billion respectively. But I mean, Bitcoin, I'm still holding tight. It's still holding its what do you call it, the gains that it's made over the weekend, still hovering around that, just under 3,000, like I said, 3,667, so under that 3,700 mark. But we know that from last Friday, when it went from 3,400 up until was it 3,700 something, it, at some point it's expected it might retest. If there's still some continuation, it'll be 3,800. But again, it's on shaky ground. Several things that have happened fundamentally, which I will get into in a moment. But what was kind of remarkable with this very short period of time during the weekend is that we saw higher volumes come in. So that was a bit of a nice, I want to say a surprise, but just a pleasant change, I guess, from seeing the market all red, right? But several things did happen to that did have an effect on that. So I mentioned a jump in volume, but there was some progress regarding Lightning Network. Now, we have mentioned that a few times before. There has been some coverage regarding that, and it's all about fixing the fundamental challenges that Bitcoin, that crypto face. So some of that is scalability issues, the ability to process more and more transactions to get up to the, on par with Visa or PayPal, for example. We still have a long way to go, guys. So this is why I'm saying, don't get the champagne popping yet. We're not like we're not seeing any good reason to believe this is a reversal or a real challenge. We really have to see whether it'll go to the 3,800 to that psychological 4,000 level. So until we see this progress and we see the volumes being sustained and increased, I don't see a reason to get excited yet. We have to have those confirmations. And now with the with Bitcoin's transaction, I did mention before, it has been increasing surprisingly, even over the bear market. And with, I'll break it down in a moment, but starting with the Bitcoin's hash rate, that has actually increased. Now, with the hash rate, it's basically how much power a crypto uses basically to process transactions, to generate new coins. That's one of the indications that we've been watching closely. And surprisingly, it actually reached its highest level since last November over this weekend. So the fact that people surprisingly increased the amount of people joining the network, the majority of them to mine, is a bit of an indication. Also, the rise in transactions per day over the past month as well. But this is the part that people don't know, is the breakdown. So about a quarter of it is actually attributed to Veriblock. I'm not sure if you guys heard of that, but it's basically like a way of securing other blockchains using BTC blockchain. And right now, Bitcoin, so far from what we can see, it is the only project, the only coin with transaction fees that have actually, the transaction.
Esmer, we lost your audio. Esmer is in the UK, guys. Sometimes she has a little audio issues, but she'll get it worked out.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
So, all right. So I hope you gathered some of what I was saying regarding some of the reasons why Bitcoin, in regards to transactions. Did you hear that part?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, and that 25% of these transactions on the blockchain actually accounts, it's Veriblock that accounts for 25%, a quarter of the transactions on the network. Now, another thing as well is that there's been some positive noises, positive predictions, and influential people in the industry stating that this year will be, based on evidence, this will be a year of potential price gains for cryptos because of the improvements being done on the infrastructure, and in particular with BTC. So you guys may have heard of Fundstrat Global Advisors. You may have heard of Tom Lee. He's a Bitcoin bull, a huge supporter of the industry, co-founder of Fundstrat as well. Now, with his, it's a private research firm, basically does a lot of research and advises institutional investors, wealth advisors, pension funds, high net worth individuals. So what they say is, quite important in respect to that. Now, they use research-based information on investment. And I think they have something like 70% of globally managed equity assets. So they're quite substantial. They've been around since 2014. Now, he's specifically mentioned about 9 incremental improvements that has happened in the space that will ultimately, later on be priced into the market at some point. And he also mentioned, funnily enough, because we've been seeing what happened with the Dow Jones, S&P, and NASDAQ, and the trade war with China and the partial government shutdown. It's still on. I mean, it's on pause right now, but it's expected to resume on February the 15th if nothing gets agreed. There is this sense of foreboding, this sense of expectation that the US dollar will drop, it will fall, and all of these problems are basically mounting up, and at some point, some catalyst will come along and set things off. It will be a trigger. Now, one thing that we have to be very careful of is obviously not jumping ahead of the game and just thinking that there's a full correlation with cryptos and traditional financial markets. Yes, at some point, some events can actually help crypto and blockchain industry, but we have to be very careful about automatically assume that one will correlate and so on. But here's what's interesting. His firm has said, as the US dollar weakens, merchants will actually likely turn to cryptos as a means of payment, and this may actually help to drive future prices up for crypto, and because of the number of institutional investors that are looking at this space, looking to invest once certain things are set into place and ready for them. And some of them, as we know, they've been getting involved over the counter trading. But he was mentioned that should actually help. Obviously, we've got the ETF decisions, and platforms like Backed waiting to see if there's any further delays or whether that will actually end up getting approved. It did also blame the SEC, the uncertainty, the constant delays and crackdowns for the dampening of the market as well. But they are expecting a recovery to happen by the end of this year. And that eventually also ICOs will come up revamped and will also do well in the future. Now, we have to be very careful, as I keep saying, about taking, even though they're based on evidence and have looked at the industry from a macro level, we have to obviously, do our due diligence and so on, take this on board. But we have to look at we've got to look at different perspectives and not do what we did in 2017 collectively, when everyone went crazy and literally jumped on the bandwagon without doing their due diligence and investing money they could not afford to lose, or at least, being over leveraged and so on. So this time, the market been mature, the industry been mature, the majority of us have learned our lessons. And this is important to know. I mean, this is very good indicators, but we're yet to see this priced in, or if it is priced in for the the manipulators and the way the price is being depressed at the moment. We need to be very mindful of certain forces at play here, and not to base our decision on emotionally. Look at all the evidence we have in front of us and make the decision that is right for us, and choose the investment strategy that works for us and not others, and not what other people's opinions would be. But from what we can see right now, there's a lot of good things, positive developments that are slowly daily all add into this. Now, what happened as well with the SEC, there's always something that, you know, it's almost like a drip approach right now. They're providing us with a little bit more clarity, a little bit more guidance. Now this weekend, in fact yesterday, they yes, they do tweet. Check out their tweet, follow them on their tweet, just so you can get breaking news from them. They tweeted out a guide regarding ICOs. So it's guidelines on, you know, what ICO founders, ICO projects should be doing to make sure they're on the right side of the law, and, you know, not have them constitute as securities. Now they've thank goodness for this. I'm glad to hear like they're using plain English, no technical jargon. You know, it's very clear, so anyone can understand it, whether you're ICO founder, investor, or average Joe. But they do have like 5 aspects of ICOs that they've highlighted, they consider essential to understanding and complying with. And then they even have separate sections for investors and market, you know, professionals and analysts. And here's the thing, though, this information isn't new. It's actually been online since last March, but they are highlighting it again. They're bringing attention to it because the way things are right now, they're trying to remind people, especially in the ICO sector, you know, this is where we are right now. We don't have new changes yet. But in the meantime, make sure you're compliant, make sure you go by the existing laws. And if you've forgotten or if you're not sure, here it is in plain English. Now, I think that's a good thing that they're doing. That is a productive use, I guess, right now of the limited time they have, that they're open until we find out what happens with the government shutdown decision, whether that will resume or not. And this is a user guide that's easy to understand, and it gives some level of guidance and clarity. It's not a lot though, but again, it's good that they're pointing them to this so they're not on the wrong side. And remember, this issue has been going on for quite some time now until we have clear, they're still trying to establish how they're going to define it, what sort of rules, what treatment they will give it, and how easy it will be to monitor and enforce these rules. So it's easier, it's as easy as convenient as can be for all stakeholders involved. That's the goal, and part of that is why the SEC's has been doing this outreach and meetings with different stakeholders, including ICO founders and projects, looking to see how they can find some sort of common ground and something that is practical and workable. And that's the key. That really, at the heart of it, this is all about investor protection. That's, you know, that's what they say. But we have to also look at, more importantly, what they do, right, and who they're protecting. And this is why, again, they're also, it's very good that they've mentioned that people have to do their own research before letting go, you know, invest in their capital, reiterate the risks involved, and really to get people in that mindset. Even if it's like a small warning or whatever, I think that's actually a good thing. As you know, it's a good reminder to have. It doesn't hurt anyone. And they are very careful in their wording and how they say things. So they know this is a new way, it's an innovative technology, and they do mention that. I mean, the good things that will that may come out of it. But again, it comes like with a cigarette tobacco warning, like smoking can do this harm, that harm, or whatever, even though you might get the pleasure from smoking it or whatever. So they mention in regards to fraud manipulation, price manipulation and fraud, and because it's less regulated, the oversight, the monitoring, the tracking and enforcement it's less secure than traditional markets. So they want to get that message across to all stakeholders, so we don't have the situation we saw back in 2017, where a lot of the people that came in bought at the top and also didn't do any research, and they got burnt. And they're from what we can see in the, from what the SEC's and essentially what they're trying to say is, we're here to protect the investors, and we're trying to get that communicated to everyone involved, so everyone does play their part to make it as secure, as safe as possible. Now here's the thing as well. Hester Pierce as well. I'm glad he mentioned this. He's a SEC commissioner. This Friday just gone, he mentioned that in fact the delay with the clarity that we're looking for from SEC and the regulations, specifically crypto regulations, to be put in place. The fact that there's this delay and we're in a gray area right now, he actually mentioned that this may actually allow more freedom for the industry to move on its own. And that's exactly what we've been doing as an industry, as a community. More part of the infrastructure and the ecosystems have been adapted, have been tweaked and been played around, and all sorts of things that it's not staying still. There's always something. There's literally like millions of moving parts to this. So I'm glad we didn't just, as an industry, by its very nature, it's not meant to abide and comply with the traditional markets and system. It's supposed to work for the greater good. In its decentralized nature, no one person, no middleman, no central authority controls and issues and establishes value. We do that, and we also look. We established a security, and having trustless systems is critical to that. So it goes against the mechanism and the way central parties operate, regulators operate. It's supposed to be the technology is supposed to take out that mistrust for us. So it deals with the, to find the problem with the fact that we have fraud, we have price manipulation, we have breaches with exchanges and hacks and so on. Right now, that is a messy aspect of the industry. That's the downside. But we also have to consider this as a new technology, it's a disruptive technology, and it's finding its way, it's finding its feet. And so with all these stakeholders coming into play, at some point there may be a better equilibrium that would we will find a way to make it work somehow, because the past 10 years it didn't need the help of the traditional markets or SEC or governments or any of central authorities, central parties. It didn't need that to be successful. It was doing fine on its own. It got to this part by itself. So how it proceeds now and trying to find that middle ground, that's why it's a clash of ideology. Those who do want regulation, who do want a third party to come in and be an ombudsman and help to supervise things and monitor and enforce. That's the traditional way of looking at it. But with the new way, with the new school, is having technology replace that and find ways it could minimize the risks associated with trading, mining, acquiring invest in, hold in cryptos. And that's the real challenge. And that's why we have so many developers, programmers, scientists, engineers working to solve these problems. Scalability is a major issue. Volatility is a major issue. Security breaches are major issues. But guess what? It's actually been getting better over time, even though we are seeing some exchanges being hacked and so on. We're still overall, the industry have learned some lessons that that have taken it into 2019 is a different ball game. It's a different era, infrastructure, rather than 2000 from when we started out in 2008, 2009. So again, we have to take a look and have that bigger view and seeing actually this is the progress that we had overall, and there's a lot more robust programs or robust patches, provisions being written. Something new has come along now that will at least plug this hole created, at least minimize this risk here. And actually the message is more or less, it has been coming across, it has been drilled down over and over again. And if the 2017, going into 2018 bear market, no one has learned any lessons from that period of time, is that we definitely need to do our due diligence and not invest money that we can't afford to lose, because it's still a new technology, still a new asset class. It's still, everything about it within 10 short years is done incredibly well, but there's still major risks and challenges that we're facing, and more people are becoming a lot more mature in their approach to this. So 2017 mindset overall to 2019, vast improvement. It's significant in some cases. So again, lessons have been learned, and I'm glad that now, even with regulators such as SEC looking to give guidelines, making sure, because it is legitimate, like some of the issues that ICOs are facing, they do not want to get into legal trouble, financial trouble. They didn't, the majority, I'm now generalizing a bit now, but ICO founders don't go in unless they're scams, don't go in looking to defraud their investors or have their projects fail. Again, good intentions from what we can see with the ones that have real world use case, the ones that engage their community, the ones that actually have accountability. They have it in their systems and processes where they could be held accountable and answerable to their investors or stakeholders. Those are the ones that the market are watching and engaging with. And quickly in this environment, 2019, investors are a lot more scrupulous. They scrutinize more, they do their due diligence more, they're more aware of what's going on in the market, they take more interest in the market and what's going on around it, not just listen to what people say, but actually seeing what's been done, crucially what's not been done as well. So all of these things, when you think about it, there's still a lot of work to be doing, but I'm glad whatever that is better to have this type of SEC rather than the complete and utter crackdown, put everyone in jail, fine them heavily, having a proper pessimistic approach. At least this, if you're going to choose between two evils, at least have the one that will at least engage with the community, engage with different stakeholders, at least try and understand why this technology is so transformational and find somewhere a common ground. So we have to be somewhat realistic when it comes to regulators. But again, at the same time, innovation should never be, at least in my opinion, innovation should never be stifled by old thinking or old regulations, especially rules that were not even written, where any the security laws, how we test this was not even written when the internet was born, when mobile phones were existed. This is why we need up-to-date laws. We need that specifically for cryptos. Is a different asset class, but the potential, the implications this has for the world, it really does deserve its own rules, own policies regarding how it's monitored, how it's enforced, and so on. That 100%, if there's going to be rules, that is one thing I would actually want that to happen, rather than the existing security laws, which don't really, in my opinion, doesn't make sense to apply to cryptos, and it actually punishes innovators and investors for doing something that actually, ironically, America and other countries would like to think that they are, at the forefront of technology developments. This doesn't sort of, it doesn't gel. So I'm glad that they're going to actually clear that up, have that into law at some point. But for now, that, that spotlight that they've shown on ICOs, that's a good guide for different stakeholders. But funnily enough, with ICOs, though the way people see it now, the way that it's treated in the market, some tokens now trade at like less than their issued price. Some of them have lost value, like 80-90% of their value. But the key thing is, if they do have real world use case and they have a strong community behind them, I don't see why they would fail. As long as you give the people what they want and it works and it solves a problem, I don't see how they will not be successful when the market reverses and we go into a bull run. So, in terms of ICO, making a comeback, we're thinking 2019, late 2019, maybe 2020. But it ain't going to be the craziness that we saw like 2017. Is going to be totally different ball game because of the improvements, because of the awareness, because of the improvements done, and level of accountability and transparency that's going on now. So if anything, it's helped get rid of more of the scammy projects and bring in, allow the true, the ones with strong fundamentals to actually survive. And the next round will be about providing real value to investors and stakeholders in different ways. So that is good. The SEC confirming as well that they're going to give guidance on cryptos is really important. It's going to be supplemental guidance, whether crypto fundraising efforts fall under the security laws, which I mentioned, but they made it clear that they're going to make warnings that people need to tread carefully. Also, I like the fact that they, if capital raised from decentralized token offerings could mean it's not owned by, control by one person or company. It is different from traditional security providers, the ones that issue securities. Also promoters, completely different from the traditional space. So the fact that they're also given awareness of that and stating it, they're going to give clear crypto guidance, that's a good thing. So yeah, and it will be in plain English as well. Again, one less thing to worry about. And yeah, again, from what I'm seeing, this definitely will help ICO founders. It will help to protect investors from litigation, any issues that they may face, and the fact that we can hopefully have an environment where ICOs are not banned like China or South Korea, and that for US citizens, instead of taking out a VPN to hide to mask their IP addresses and go through all of that in order to invest in ICO, but later on with their monitoring capabilities, with all sorts of AI, machine learning, and all sorts of things that they'll come out to try and look at what other investments that you may have got into during the beginning of the industry. I feel like that they're gonna work back at some point when they have enough manpower and enough resources to do that, and apply certain things retrospectively. So we have to be very careful what we do from here on out. This gray area we're in, it's not necessarily a green light to avoid declaring cryptos or whatever. But we just have to be aware of what's going on and make sure we follow existing laws, respect that, and be able to still be engaged in innovative projects and still be part of the industry. So this is why it's still a bit of a dance. It's still a bit of it's hard to describe, because there's no, like, the ground is shifting, everything's moving and changing every single day. So we have to be aware of, as much as we can, aware of everything all at once. So we're basically juggling multiple balls and be able to have our eye on everything that's going on as much as we can. And so, yeah, just continue to do your due diligence, continue to be updated with this information. And depending if you want to start your own project, so if you're planning to fundraise using ICO, or if you're here just to hodl and invest and hold long term, or trade or mine, just be aware of what's going on regarding regulations, SEC, CFTC, IRS, everything. Just make sure you stay on, compliant, basically. And another thing to add to that, in New Hampshire, they've made sure that they've they've introduced a bill, and basically will allow residents to pay their taxes with crypto. And so far, so good. It has been approved on the first hurdle, I believe, and is very similar to what Ohio did in regards to allowing businesses to pay their taxes. But the fact that state level agencies are, New Hampshire in this case, is helping, is open to accepting cryptos as for payment. That is another, again, this is something I mentioned before. We're going to see more and more states put in not only just discussions and meetings, but actually writing and introducing legislation, provisions, amendments to existing or new laws that will allow cryptos to be integrated into as a means of payment, for example, for taxes or other fees, anything that is to do with the local government. So I'm glad to see that. And, if it makes it easier for businesses, for individuals, whether it's to pay their taxes or pay something using cryptos, again, that will help increase adoption rate long term, increases awareness. And it's almost inevitable, it's inevitable that at some point, because of the advantages to be had, it just makes sense. Like, literally, you write it down in black and white. It's very, very hard to argue against the increased advantages that you get, and especially where you compare it with legacy systems. Honestly, anything is better than pen and paper. anything is better than waiting 3, 4, 5 days for payment to clear, or that to be verified. Any if it was in blockchain and cryptos, it would be some other technology that we would be discussing and using at some point and getting accepted. So again, the fact that this is happening with important areas of the state, areas that deal with taxes, with legislation, again, that's a good sign. And it's onwards and upwards as far as the industry is concerned. Yeah, so we're talking about accepting cryptos if this does continue to go through for tax payments by November later this year. And the actual acceptance of cryptos will actually start in July 2020. So they would have to partner up with a third party payment processor, crypto processor, just like Ohio did to do their crypto taxes. So yeah, that's a good one. Also, FDA, Food and Drug Administration. Now, you guys, I'm sure you're aware, since last year, we discussed about, we talked about Walmart, for example, going into the blockchain space and be able to monitor certain foods. They did a pilot. Now the FDA is looking to use blockchain for an open pilot scheme with the pharmaceutical industry. Now, they want to improve, you're going to hear this over and over again, but supply chain management, anything that can help us save money and time and be able to account for quality and transparency, for example, to avoid food poisoning, make sure we avoid counterfeit products and so on. Now, they want to improve supply chains, and it was mentioned this Friday, announced this Friday, and this will basically allow all these big industries and projects and companies to come together, have a way to integrate it into a blockchain supply chain that will allow to allow them to integrate all that information, so they'll be able to track that through the blockchain and keep ahead of all at once, everything that's going on. Everything will be identifiable, traceable, and having that digital supply chain platform to track these drugs. I'm talking about pharmaceutical drugs here, not the illegal type, and preventing counterfeit. They want to get that operated by the year 2023. Now, believe it or not, even as in an industry as big as pharmaceuticals, they're still haven't 100% digitalized all of their processes. So the FDA is suggesting using blockchain to do that. Now, if it's going to improve traceability, I'm 100% for it. Again, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm not a big fan of the pharmaceutical industry. I'm not going to go into it now. All the reasons why they're shady, as you know what, and dangerous, and that the fact that they're looking for new ways to improve traceability. Now, if you've got someone on medication and they accidentally given the wrong drug, or whatever the reason may be, the numbers are, I'm not sure if it's changed now, but the number I looked at last time when I was doing my research, adverse drug reactions, ADRs, something like 100,000 people are affected. 100,000 people die every year due to ADRs. And I think I can't remember if it's 1 million or 2 million people are affected, like they get their illness worsens or something as a side reaction happens that doesn't cause their death. But that number is astronomically high, enough as it is. So even with blockchain coming into the space, even if I'm not a fan or anyone's not a fan of the pharmaceutical industry, the fact that it will help to reduce these incidents, it's a great thing. Less people getting ill, less people dying is always a good thing. So improving traceability, making sure those are genuine, they're not counterfeit, ensuring there's accountability every stage of the way, transparency. It will even reduce costs. Now with your medical bills, with your prescriptions, I'm sure you guys already suffer from high prices. Your insurance premiums, everything is connected and affected. So if the efficiencies that they will get through the blockchain, if that means a reduction in your medical bills or your prescriptions, or you have less reactions from a particular drug that you take or medicine, because they've got more clarity, they know where everything is, and the ingredients required could be traced back to a particular farm or particular area, whatever, a jurisdiction, then they're able to go after that. They're able to at least, get compensation if something goes wrong, and you can, they could pass that to you, God forbid, if you're affected in a negative way. But the fact they now have clear a technology that will clarify and this will be literally a game changer, and this will actually, one way or another, have a trickle down effect on the current state that we're going through right now, in the if we're affected by the pharmaceutical industry. So this is a big deal. Now, if the FDA and these companies get involved, and they also do this, and in fact, going back to 2013, actually, there's a provision, there's a law that states that they've outlined steps to build electronic interoperable systems to identify and trace certain prescription drugs. Now, that was signed into law. So anything that will help to increase verification, tracing in the supply chain, again, that means they can act quickly as well. And especially if something's counterfeit, something's wrong, that is a good thing. Now, again, the industry, like I said, maybe they'll be using this to increase profits, but I sincerely hope that the FDA and the industry look to, in terms of safety, quality control, and the adverse drug reactions that happen. I don't know how much of that is attributable to the fact that some of them might be using legacy systems. It could be something else, but I hope it's not just profits that they're looking after, but they're looking to use this technology to reduce the number of fatalities and the number of illnesses as well. I hope that's the case. So we will see anyway what happens. And also, we've seen with IBM the success of and Maersk as well, shipping company. They've been able to use the blockchain for supply chain management successfully. And IBM, as we know, have been increasingly filing all these new blockchain patents to help with that, especially on the supply chain side. So that's something to be aware of. Another thing is Twitter users. Hopefully you will soon be able, if you're using Twitter, hopefully you'll be able to use, to be able to receive crypto tips through Lightning Network as well. And it will be through a crypto wallet called Tippin. It was, what do you call it? It is a user-friendly and web-based custodial crypto wallet. Yeah, it is called Tippin. I keep forgetting. So if you do like writing and blogging or doing whatever on Twitter, and you get followers and whatever that love your content, then you could tip soon enough. Have people tipping you in Bitcoin or in crypto. So that's a good idea. And I definitely see that continuing to happen. You know what? I even see Instagram, Facebook, Others integrate wallets to be able to receive cryptos. Maybe in the beginning it will be Ethereum or Bitcoin, but I do see that increasing across different platforms, networks, and companies. I know this is sort of old news now, but I wanted to quickly mention that now that I mentioned social networks. Facebook, they've acquired the people that were working in chain space. So they specialize in smart contract development. And they didn't buy out the company. They actually they hired the talent behind it. And it was founded by these guys that were in the University College London. It's actually a university, UCL. So, and it's something that's designed to help in terms of scalability, speed, and privacy, which we definitely need. And using sharding technology in particular, because that would allow a way to increase the amount of transactions that happen on the blockchain. So, and that really is to get up to speed, up to level, and be scalable to traditional payments like payment systems like Visa and PayPal, because Visa handles something like 2,000 transactions per second. PayPal something like 115 transactions per second, and Bitcoin is somewhere around 2 to 18 transactions per second. So again, the fact that Facebook, they haven't hidden the fact that they're trying to find the best way to leverage and get into the space. They've been hiring people behind closed doors, and I think they've got a team of 40 people now working on a project to be able to use that. And I believe that's to do with WhatsApp having a crypto integrated there, so people can be sending money via WhatsApp. But there's other aspects to it as well, which obviously they're going to let us know in due course. Chain space though, the coding, the documentation, everything will still be open source as far as they're concerned. And Facebook can hire anyone, like the best of the best, creme de la creme. And the fact that they've gone with chain space speaks volumes. These guys are, the real deal. And they're looking for ways using sharding technology to the fact that they're looking at the scalability aspect of it, which is what Bitcoin with Lightning Network, that's one of the solutions to that challenge. That is a clue that they've foreseen having a platform that could deal. Remember, they have over 1 billion users on Facebook, although with what has happened to them, that number has declined a bit, but they foresee further growth, but they need to diversify. They've been acquiring different companies and projects and so on, but they definitely want to be able to jump on any opportunities and technology that will allow them to explore different applications and to make sure that they can scale it up. And they can handle transactions, they can handle the amount of people that will be on board is so important to be ready, and they're doing it their way, adapting it to what works for them. So, and these are people, one thing to note with these chain space guys, they are multi-protocol professionals. So they know how to write in different languages, programming languages and different protocols, is so that they're more flexible, they're more aware of some of the challenges and problems that are faced with different blockchains. So they're more likely to come up with solutions that will be actually better than anyone can think of at the moment. And that's why Facebook cares about people in terms of hiring the best talents, the ones that are not only fully qualified, but actually have a bigger view, and they have multiple skills in different areas, not just one niche. And this is really to build something from the ground up and to be able to adapt to different challenges and environments, which is going to be super critical because as you guys know, crypto is risky, crypto is still new, still trying to figure out different areas, still trying to apply to different problems. So a lot going on there. We do know with the WhatsApp aspect of it, from what we've heard before, that they're looking to have a stable coin, a fiat-backed, probably the US dollar, a US dollar backed stable coin integrated into WhatsApp. So that's the word, and they're looking to do that over the course of time, making sure that the platform, the integration, there's no bugs, there's no issues, vulnerabilities and whatnot. So they're making sure they get the best people for this. Speaking of apps, guys, be careful on Google Play now. Thank God this has been removed, but there was a crypto stealing app that was discovered on Google Play, and it basically steals Bitcoins and other types of cryptos from people's phones. And this basically, you know, when you copy and paste if you're sending Bitcoin, for example, you copy and paste a long address. I don't know anyone that types it, and even then, that's super long and inconvenient, but usually copy and paste. Now, this particular bug, every time you copy, it inserts itself their address, their actual crypto address. So you're thinking you've copied and pasted yours, but actually it replaced your address with theirs. So when you're sending crypto, you're thinking it's gone to that wallet, but actually it's gone to the scammer's wallet. Now this has been removed. You calm down. You don't have to get too worried. And they discovered this Clipper malware. It goes back to early this month, and it was hiding behind an actual, you know, MetaMask is legit, but it was hiding behind that, and the mechanisms for that, it has been intercepted, so, and it has been removed, and you know, unfortunately, and I have a Samsung phone, but unfortunately, there has been some malware apps discovered on Android apps, through infected apps, and this is the one thing I'm going to have to say to you again and again, and that is, make sure you find out that whatever app you're downloading is actually from the official provider, from the official website, either go on the website, and you know, they have the link to go on, download either, you know, on iPhone, at the App Store, or via Google Play. You can either do it through that to get extra confirmation and reassurance that it's the real thing, or on the app you can, this is what I do. So I not only go through the original website, but if I go on the actual app where you download Google Play, in my case, I look for reviews. I look for all the different wordings and stuff that will allow me to see, okay, is this real? I look to see if there's any extra certifications or something, but you can tell whether it's actually legit or fake, or, you know, just by not only the amount of reviews that it has, but literally to see whether it has official data, official something that will tell you that is actually from the provider. And you could double check it by going to the website. Now, I can't stress that enough, especially if you hold cryptos on your phone. Guys, please do that quick. It only takes a few minutes to check, but make sure it is actually from the app, the proper provider of that app, the official app. And if it doesn't turn up there, and something else is in its place, and it doesn't say it's a copy, or if it's you know, like a improved version or something, if it doesn't make it clear that it's not the actual thing, avoid it at all costs. It has to be the real deal or not at all. So double check all the transactions that you do as well. Make sure when you copy and paste that the actual address before you send it does match up to where you're really sending it. Sometimes it doesn't If it doesn't give you that option to double check just before you send, actually before it goes through, if you don't see the actual address, best to check that, like, even if you get like a Word document or note or whatever, and paste what you've actually copied, make sure that the wallet address is correct. So double check everything, especially because it's your sensitive information, your money, your cryptos. Yeah, just wanted to, not just cryptos, by the way, but any apps that you download, just double check to see that's the original version for the app that you're looking to download, that from the company that you wanted to get it from. Because these malware loaded apps, it's not just cryptos that they'll still, in some cases they could use your identity. They could look and track for any financial information that you may store on your phone, or emails, or whatever the case, but they're going to look at whatever they can get their hands on. So again, be very careful with that, and treat every app that you see as almost like suspicious, half suspicious, and it has to, give you peace of mind and make sure that you're right in that, that it proves itself, basically. Another thing was Mauritius, small island, Mauritius, but they're doing big things. They're looking to license crypto custodians. So if you want to keep your cryptos with a custodian in Mauritius, and they're looking to be a fintech hub for, especially for the African continent and the diaspora, but it's just right now initially is to serve in and around Africa. They are looking to have some regulatory rules set in place to to regulate custody services for cryptos. I mentioned this before, but any jurisdiction, a good one was Malta, blockchain island. Any company, any jurisdiction, any government, any groups of people, any government and any type of power and authority that is looking to provide some sort of regulation, some sort of clarity, anything that will allow cryptos to become more legitimate, more accepted, to raise the adoption, is a good thing. Now Mauritius is, I've never been there yet, but if they also become a blockchain island, if they become a crypto island, what I foresee happening is not just exchanges, but even investors at some point looking to get registered with them. Again, it depends on the jurisdiction, it depends on the country's law. Maybe you have to turn up in person to be registered and whatnot. Certain proofs you have to give for compliance purposes. You might have to do KYC, AML procedure. But I see more and more people looking to go into, if they can't in their own country, or if it's just more favorable and it has more advantages registering there and using their services. Custody solutions, I definitely foresee investors and major players looking to use that. Again, when we look at tax havens, for example, offshore bank accounting and whatnot, that's not a new thing. But with crypto in particular, again, I'm a bit wary with any company, any government that says, allow us to look after your cryptos. We'll make sure it's, top of the line and it's insured and whatnot. The whole idea is for you to have control over your own your own crypto finances, and have the keys at your own disposal. That is essentially what makes it super valuable, is that you have the control, and therefore you have the ability to print and create more crypto through any means that you feel correct. Unlike with the traditional systems, where it's the bank, by holding your deposits, where they have sovereignty to be able to print They're making, as I've said before, for every $100 deposited, on average, I read that they make $900 off that. So crazy. But the whole idea is to get away from that. But I definitely see, with exchanges being hacked and all sorts of craziness still in the industry, still new. And for some people, it's going to be a requirement because we're dealing with pensions here, we're dealing with major savings and so on. So they want to get compensation. They want an insurance payout if they do lose the cryptos. So, that's, again, this is why I say it depends on you as an investor, and really what your risk profile is and what you feel is, in terms of control, whether you want to control your own keys or have someone professional do it for you. That's up to you. That's, again, the fact that they've got these wallets set up, and they have regulations in place for that to protect these investors. For some people would actually see more value in that and use their services. So that's with Mauritius, and there is a Swiss. You guys may have heard, but a HSBC whistleblower. I think it was something like they leaked 30,000 accounts, and it was something like that. It was worth $120 billion. So this person, this French guy, Hervé Falciani, he's a whistleblower convicted of the largest leak in banking history. He plans to launch an ethical crypto that will combat money laundering and fraud. Now, any case where you have, I'm sure you guys seen since 2008, maybe even before, where you have all these whistleblowers, Assange with WikiLeaks, for example, leaking government documents, company documents that really show, also Panama Papers, where a lot of people, different influential people, important people have actually evaded tax and whatnot. And so many things. Like whenever you get whistleblowers in the industry, their lives are usually threatened or something. He's gone into witness protection program, by the way, and he refuses to fly out of Spain. And I think that's where he is at the moment. So anyway, whenever we hear of this, and then the fact that he's looking to do his own crypto. Okay, so whistleblowers, it depends on where you fall, because you have a duty to look after your investors, your customers, the people that have entrusted you with their money, with their, in some cases, their livelihood, their pensions, their savings and whatnot. It's a big deal. Now, if they're looking to expose corruption in their place of work or, systematic issues with the, not just a particular person, but a group of people, it could span across different industries and whatnot. I'm all for exposing corruption, definitely. But also, if you're going to make sure you're not targeted in a way that, your family's lives are in danger, your life is in danger, and so on, do it responsibly. Staying anonymous is always a good thing, in my opinion. But if you want to, tell the world, and it becomes a sort of a deterrent of some sort, in a way. So because everyone knows, you're more likely to have more eyeballs on these people that are doing, the corruption, and they'll be under pressure to either change or do something else, not repeat it. So anyway, the fact that they're doing that, Assange, by the way, Julian Assange, funnily enough, he actually thanks the United States government for forcing him to rely on Bitcoin, because they've banned him from banking, shut everything down. And I think he was holed up in London. I think he's still there in the Ecuadorian embassy, refused to come out because he'll get arrested. there's an international arrest warrant for him. Now, the fact that he invested in Bitcoin way early out of necessity, he then said he made 50,000% return as a result. So in a way, with cryptos, I actually think you can use that to circumnavigate the traditional financial banking system. That's great, especially if you're a whistleblower. You've got some, reassurances, some backing financially. But then I just think if your name is out there, your family, the people around you, your life will never be the same again. That's a sacrifice that person has made. That is their conscience. That's fine now. So with cryptos in particular, with blockchain, I like the fact that it gives not just whistleblowers, but a lot of people, victims or any person that has gone through any injustice and they're working against the system. This definitely helps. I wouldn't say it will help to level the playing field, because you still have this enormous power, still working against, like a David versus Goliath situation, but certainly it gives you more tools, it gives you more weapons. It bolsters up your arsenal, so you're able to come back and you have different mechanisms, different options that would help you, give you confidence and inspire more people to come out and speak up and tackle corruption. And so I think with that, it definitely has implications. But the fact that he's doing his own crypto, again, that's his decision, and I actually applaud that. If anything, if it means helping to put some sort of power and control back in the hands of people and away from the elite and any group of people that want to do harm to others, again, that's a good thing. And I definitely see how these sort of stories will help to embolden others looking to go against the system for the benefit of the greater good. So that's one thing. Is another thing as well. Opera, by the way, Opera web browser. Now I use Brave browser, and I mentioned that before as well. It's quicker, it's easier, less safe. More safe, no ads and whatnot. But with Opera, they are going to integrate. They're going to have a crypto wallet integrated. And it will again be more secure. Now we are going to have, hopefully at some stage, Internet Explorer, Chrome and other internet providers actually step up their game and hopefully get to Brave, what the standard that Brave browser is doing. Also give you the options to turn off the trackers and also get paid for either having ads on your browser, or having that option to turn it off and on and whatnot, having the ability to get paid for, having all those options there. That is going to be a feature. I feel like that's going to be standardized across different browsers at some stage. Now, with crypto wallets on browsers, that is okay. I'm not a big fan of them, only because I believe 100% in cold storage. That means not connected to the internet, air gapped, put it on your Trezor Ledger Keep key, or a hard drive that's been, formatted and not connected to the internet. I'm a big fan of holding your crypto keys and not anywhere near, even it's super secure. I'm just, the way things are set up and the way things are right now in the industry, I'm not too keen on having, maybe I'll have a little bit of cryptos if I have to have a integrated crypto, especially if it's for receiving, fine enough. But for stashing a major amount of cryptos, I wouldn't recommend it, personally speaking. But hopefully if that becomes more and more standardized and there's security features that, allowed us to become more secure and more accepted, and and somehow deters hackers because it's state of the art and whatnot. That's a good thing, but again, for me, cold storage all the way. And yeah, another thing was well, there was something else as well. I've kind of lost track of time. Actually, it's I'm just seeing it now. Actually, I may stop here now. But I hope you guys got value from that. Aking, are you still there?
What's that, Esmerette?
I was just saying, I hope you're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here.
So that's it for me. But on the technical aspect, what's been going on?
I mean, you did a really good job with assessing it from price without even looking at the chart. So kudos to crypto Azzy.
Oh, come on now. You know, I don't. Oh, come on. You know, I know. Oh God. Even now, I'm like trying to remember when I last saw the charts. It was still what do you call it? Between that range, wasn't it? Between the 3,400 and 3,000. Well, under 3,800. But we really want to know: is it really something of a clue? Is it really going to? Is it going to still be within that range, or do you see it breaking down at some stage? Is this a false move? What we want to know, despite all of these.
Let's just take a look at the chart and see what we can figure out. I think Litecoin has.
I want to know: is it still the status quo? Is it still the same, or are we going to have some real moves being made? Because there's people getting excited, you know, and I'm just saying, calm down. Wait until we break out that range. Let's see where it takes us.
Let's take a look. Hold on, let me pull up Bitcoin right now. I haven't really been trading Bitcoin, but let's take a look at it, and I'm going to share with you guys what I see and see if it makes anyone else.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, because yeah, so the fact that it's still sustained the price is still above 3,600. I'm like, don't pop out the champagne yet, guys. Just wait. You know.
Yeah, that's J.A.R.V.i.Z.
Yeah, because
just pull up this little couple moving averages on here so people can take a look at and give a better idea to this whole thing.
And then this is why we have to stay calm, even if we have some bullish news. Stay calm, bad news, stay calm, because these news headlines got us, you know, some of us thinking, okay, the next stop 4,000. I'm like, okay.
Hold on, why can't I find the screen share button? Here it is. That should be it right here. All right, you guys can see my screen.
Yep.
All right, so I have Bitcoin on the chart. This is the daily chart. And I just have nothing crazy on here, guys. I just have a 200 period moving average and a 50 period moving average. And then I have this black line right here is at a quarter point, which is basically a key level. So 4,000 is a key level, 3,750 is a key level, 3,500 is a key level, 3,000 is a key level. So we're at 3,750. That's a key level right here on Bitcoin. And as you can see, we punched this 50 period moving average and we rejected from a major key level, which is at 3,750. So all in all, this is showing a weakness. So just looking at some basic price action technicals, we broke above 3,750. We formed one top, came back down to 3,750, formed a double top. So this is a double top where we have a high and a lower high. So we form an M top. Let me just draw this out so in case some people aren't catching this. So we have one top right here. This is an M top. Then what happened after M top? We broke the neckline. We retested the neckline. The neckline is the black line. And then we sold down. After we sold down, we retested this neckline again. And now we're selling down again. So bear in mind, this thing can turn around. But in order for it to turn around for me, we have to get above 3,900. You can really say 4,000. Technically, 3,900, that's the level it has to get above on the daily for me to start saying, okay, this thing is long-term bullish or has a potential to be long-term bullish, to start looking for daily targets. Maybe even as high as $52, $54, $5,500. Really, I like the 5K, but between 5K and 55, where this 200 period moving average is. So that would have to happen first. That hasn't happened. So because we have a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low, it's just fair to say, or fair to assume that we're still making lower prices. So until that reverses, until we get a higher high, my assumption has to be that we're still going to trend lower. So kudos to anyone that was in Bitcoin at 3,400 or got in at 32, 3,300. Kudos, and I hope you enjoyed that ride up. It was fantastic. But this 50 period daily moving average is still acting as resistance. We punched the 50 period over here. We rejected really hard. So all in all, this is still a bearish move. And I like it more at 3,000 than I like it more at 4,000 right now. The only way that changes, the only way I turn from bearish to bullish is if we, over the next few days, get above $3,900. Otherwise, this is just a retest and we're going back lower. Or how some people say a short squeeze, meaning that if we had a lot of shorts in the market, so the market spiked the opposite to liquidate those positions and then wants to come back down. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like a party pooper or a Debbie Downer, but just as it is, that sits right here, we just, it's not bullish for me. Like we had a great bounce, a short squeeze, but we're not really, I can't entertain a bullish idea until we get above 3,900. You could say 4,000 just to, be cool and have fun. I like Litecoin too. I just wanted to point Litecoin out. It was a really good technical analysis on Litecoin, how clean it is. Mm-hmm. Litecoin is major key levels at $50. And we ran to $50 really well. Well, almost 50, right at $49, which is within 10%. So really $50 of this major key level. That's also where we broke down from here. Which completed this inverse head and shoulders. So this inverse head and shoulders, this pattern right here, this pattern is complete. So this inverse head and shoulders was completed. From the neckline to the head, we had about 30%. We went about 30% up here. So that pattern's complete. We hit the 200 period moving average on Litecoin. And we're right underneath a major key level. So that's a lot of selling pressure. If we start looking back over here, this key level, this was a major level for Litecoin, $50. This is a major level for Litecoin, $50. Now we're back at that level. So I think Litecoin is more likely, since we broke the 200 period moving average, we retested it in this area over here a bit. But this is like the real second retest of the 200 period moving average. So the only way I'm long-term bullish on Litecoin, if we get above 58, really $55, then I'm long-term bullish on it. Until then, I'm long-term bearish on Litecoin. Like this is when you should be entering your shorts. And if we go on Litecoin, just to give you an idea where this thing can end up. From this highs, yeah, so below $42, $43. Yeah, so we're still going down to single digits on Litecoin all in all. I mean, I still see this thing coming back down into this range where this original consolidation was in this pocket. So this, if anything, gives me more confluence that, $7, $6, $5 is likely. The only way that changes, again, is if we get above $55, $57. There's a lot of resistance in this area. This is huge resistance in this area. So the 200 period moving average, huge resistance. So I don't see that happening. I'm not betting that was to happen. My money would be short on it unless we get above $55. Then I'm long. Otherwise, I'm short. Yeah. So that's just kind of how I see Litecoin. I don't see us getting out of this just yet, but it was a great run. If you're a long-term holder, enjoy yourself, hold. If you're looking just to, bank in some profits, yesterday was a good time. It's not too late to, take some of your profits off the table if that's what you do, not financial advice. But this $50 area on Litecoin is in tremendous resistance. I don't see us just breaking out of that. Let me look at the RSI, see what the RSI says in the daily. Yeah, so we're already overbought on the RSI. And really, with a relative strength index, this is just saying that the trend is strong. It's not really saying that it's overbought, oversold. But there's only so long you can stay in this super strong condition. So if we were to see something like this is how I would get interested into Litecoin, even though I see that this is a really strong area. If you pull down like this a little bit, came back down to like 37, somewhere in here, anywhere in here, then came back up and give us like a shorter punch, then yeah, I'll be interested in shorting it down in that area right here. I would love to get a short like right there in Litecoin. That's how I would look to play it. I would look for another retest at 47, 48, 49, 50. I just want to see that last little retest, and then, yeah, I'll take a short. But all in all, I think it was a great run for cryptos. It's worth celebrating, and if you made some money on it, I'm excited for you. But when you look at the bigger picture, I don't see the bulls. So like over here, like this is Ripple for all the Ripple lovers. So like when we got to this $25, $27 range the first time, we rocket ship up and everyone went crazy. We got back down to that range. We rocket ship up again, but we got lower. We didn't go as high as this one. Then we got back into the range. We rocket ship up, but this rocket ship was shorter than this one. Then we came back here, we bounced up, and it was even shorter than this one. So unless we see something convincing and compelling, like this area right here on Ripple is a lot of resistance right in here. That 37, 35 to 30, 40 cent range, a lot of resistance there. Take a look at on the weekly or the monthly charts. It's still very bearish in my view. So it's only so far this thing can go. Only so far this thing can drop. But yeah, I'm not excited about long-term bullish perspectives just yet. I just think it's still very bearish. So like when we look at Bitcoin on the monthly chart, let me just erase all this. So you can see like this candle right here, this is a bullish monthly candle. The month is still very early in the month. But if I was a betting man, this right here, I think is going to close bearish and come back down to the 50-period moving average, maybe even break the 50-period moving average on the monthly. So this month is going to be very telling. But if you're looking at it, it still looks the previous month candle doesn't suggest that the bulls or the buyers are coming into play. So for instance, let me give you an example. Like here's a monthly candle right here where it closed bearish, but we had a long wick towards the bottom, and we could see that the buyers were starting to take control of this move. So the wick, the black line, suggests where the price has traveled to, and then the red body is where the price actually closes. So because I know this wick is longer than this body, even though this is a red candle, this is telling me that the buyers are interested, and they were, and they pushed the price up from this red candle. We fast forward over here, we have this wick, which is longer than this body, but we also have this wick on top. So we had next month, we pushed up a little bit because we did have the buyers in control of this candle. So we pushed up a little bit, but we ultimately closed bearish. And we had very little buyers at the bottom of this candle, at the bottom. So that lets me know that this month is very likely to close bearish over bullish. Now that could change. This could end up closing as a reversal candle, like a doji or something like that. But with the information I have provided, it's more likely that we close bearish than bullish, just based on the previous sequence candle. And when we start looking at key levels, at 3750 is a key level, we would need to see something happen in order for that to change. So price is developing on these smaller time frames, so we can see how the monthly time frame closes. But just looking at the daily, looking at the 4-hour chart, let's take a look at this 4-hour. I mean, this 3750 is really strong resistance. So we'll see what happens. As of right now, I'm still just short-term bearish on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I think it's likely we come back down to that 3K. We test that 3K again, and then possibly, try to start for another high. I'm not calling the bottom at 3K. I would just need to see something really convincing on the larger time frame to start saying, hey, we reached the bottom. But just looking at Bitcoin on the index, let me take a look at this on the index so I can show you guys. I mean, we broke this major uptrend right here. This trend right here, like we just broke that trend line. So that hasn't changed. That hasn't gone anywhere. So yeah, I just have to remain bearish unless something, changes. So right now I'm still just bearish. Long term, well, short term, mid term on Bitcoin, I'm bearish. Long term, obviously, I'm bullish. I think worst comes to worst, we'll find some support in this area. I don't think we'll see anything in these areas ever again. So just because of the development of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. But I think worst case doomsday scenario, we go down to $1,000, $1,200 and we start making new pattern highs. That's what I think. We probably get an oversold indicator on RSI on the monthly chart. That would be great. Like we got something like this on the monthly. We went down on here and then went up, down again. I had a double bottom. Oh, that'd be fantastic. So yeah, I'm excited, for anyone else that's excited, about the pump in price. That's cool. I'm still just waiting for the most part. I'm still long-term bullish on Bitcoin. So these moves really don't make that big of a difference for me. I'm happy with Bitcoin at 3,600. I'm happy at Bitcoin at 1,000. I'm happy at Bitcoin at 5,000. I'm happy at Bitcoin at 10,000. Ultimately, I still believe we're going to see a 7-figure Bitcoin within the next 15 to 20 years. So I'm not really pressed about it. So I just looking at fundamentally how money evolves. I think Bitcoin is here to stay, and I think there's going to be a lot of great art projects that's here to stay as well. So that's just my view on it.
Sweet. Thank you so much. That was the missing piece, the key to all of this as well. Seeing it from that point of view on the larger time scale, some people overlook that, but it's so important, isn't it? Just to get this overall perspective. Repeating myself when I say, look at what's happened over the last 10 years since its inception. And when you just shown that on the index, on the larger time frame, on the monthly, wow, that I agree with you on that one as well. I doubt that it would ever go back to the crazy prices of like $50, $100. Those times are over, in my opinion. But from what you've shown, I'm hoping that this is just what it is, the bear market, and that eventually we're going to see price catch up to the true value of the whole entire space of the industry and the people within it, and the the developments, the projects, everything that's included, because it is making our lives easier in different ways. So thank you so much. We definitely have gone above and beyond our time, but as usual, guys, we appreciate your time and your support. stay calm. I'm going to say this again and again, but even when we get positive news, even if like it seems like the light is at the end of the tunnel, um, this is something you have to see as a journey, as a marathon and not a sprint. If you're serious about the space, not just financially, but look at all the other different value, the manifestations of values that it's bringing to different people. So the key question you have to keep answering to yourself is, what's in it for me? Like, in terms of the actual technology, in terms of the opportunities, in terms of the community, in terms of everything. When you think of it as the reason why I say what's in it for me is there's so many opportunities out there that you don't actually need to, if you wanted to remain in one area, one niche and one box, that's cool, one category. But I want you to have that mindset thinking, just because we're in a bear market or just because we're seeing, certain things happen, don't enslave yourself to one particular idea or one particular, outcome. Because it's such a liquid market in terms of the developments that we're seeing. Maybe the volume yet, the volume hasn't reached the amount of liquidity, and we haven't gotten to the stage where, we can celebrate again to how we did with 2017. But I want you to realize that there's a lot of opportunities here within the industry. And every day, more and more proof, more and more evidence is coming out on a real world case, case after case, story after story of how this has actually helped different people. So what's in it for you is the fact that you have a lot more opportunities than you did 10 years ago. And if you put it in that context, you remember the chart that Aking showed you. You remember some of the things that I've mentioned to look out for and to avoid if you can. Again, do your due diligence, do your own research. But just have this, even if it's a bear market, stay educated, stay aware of the developments, and any opportunities which you feel is right for you to take advantage of, go ahead. No one is stopping you. Nothing should be stopping you. The only limit that is placed is the one that you have in your mind. So with that being said, guys, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for joining us. And we look forward to having you next on Friday coming. So tune into that, and I'll see you then. And Aking, any final words?
Peace, love, prosperity. Good day.
Peace out.